Hello Internet, I'm the hero of Julios once again with another One Piece card game. I have scoured through the internet. There were some announcements on the official One Piece Twitter, the official Japanese One Piece card game website, some translations I found on some discords. There a lot of sources, a lot of locations, but the general consensus is we officially have a flow of turn understanding of how this card game works. We also have an understanding of some of the rules for deck building and how cards interact with each other. So I've written down a lot of the rules that I found out about and kind of a brief walkthrough through how this card game works. First of all, we were correct on that you need 50 cards. It's a 50 card deck with one leader card and 10 Dawn cards to go along with it. What we didn't know were what the card types were. So we have the leader card, but we also have character cards. An example they gave was this Jinbe card. Then we have event cards, which work like option cards in Digimon or spell cards if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! And finally, we have not field cards, stage cards. Sorry, I'm thinking of field spells from Yu-Gi-Oh! But these cards actually go in their own zone, and they affect your side of the board, or they can be used during your turn. The example we have here is the Thousand Sunny, which we can suspend during our turn to give a Straw Hat Pirate an extra 1,000 power. On that note, the translation I was going to show today for the Luffy card was incorrect, and that's not actually how the Luffy card works. So the Luffy card does not have 4,000 power, it actually has 5,000 power. It also has the ability, once per turn, to move a Dawn card from your cost area to either one of your cards or to your leader card, which is Luffy. This kind of means that I was right about the Dawn cards being a currency, a mana system. They have their own area called the cost area. And at the start of your turn during your Dawn phase, you can flip 2 Dawn cards to the front of, or to your cost area. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to deck building real quick. So, for 50 cards in your deck, you can have 4 of any card with the same card number. So just like the Digimon card game, we can have 4 copies of Zoro, 4 copies of Nami, 4 copies of Robin, what have you. However, unlike the Digimon card game, all of your cards have to be the same color as your leader card. So if you're using Luffy, you have to have all red cards in your deck. If you're playing Kaido, you have to have all purple cards in your deck. I'm interested to see how this affects the way the metagame works like 6 booster packs down the road, because if something powers up red decks, or if something is too good in a blue deck, could it cause a shift where everybody's only playing blue and nobody's ever touching the red cards anymore because this one blue card is just too good? But for now, the starter decks are all probably pretty well balanced against each other. You also have your 10 Dawn cards, which have a different looking card back. Instead of this bluish card back, they have a white card back with green text. Kind of like the Digi-Eggs from the Digimon card game. Blue cards, white cards. Very distinguishable, very different, and you'll probably be allowed to use different card sleeves. Once again, they only give us this blank Dawn card example where it just says Dawn on it. I'm starting to wonder if maybe the starter decks only come with 10 Dawn cards that just say Dawn on them. I was really hoping they would be moments from the manga representing whatever deck they're from, especially with the Straw Hat deck, because that's 10 cards. There are 10 Straw Hats, so each one with their like introductory panel or some epic moment from them. I definitely know my deck would have the famous Zoro nothing happened moment. I would also love the moment where Luffy is explaining to Chopper the difference between like stag beetles and Hercules beetles and how important they are. And there's a lot of great moments in One Piece, and I really am looking forward to how Dawn cards work. In fact, my brother and I were actually talking about it. What if Dawn cards end up being the promo cards? That way people don't have to like scour the internet and pay hundreds of dollars, or they have to go to a special event. What if Dawn cards are just proof you went there? Like, I won a store tournament, and that's why I have this Boa Hancock introductory Dawn card. Or I, was one of the top finishers in my regional. That's why I have the, Zoro slicing Mr. One Dawn card. Like, these things, you know what I mean. So, to set up the card game, as it says in this little flowchart thing, we need to shuffle our deck, we place down our leader card, so before we even know who's going first, we have to show our opponent the leader of our deck, which probably means our opponent will know what they're getting into, and once we decide who goes first, they'll know whether or not they actually want to go first. Maybe because Luffy is very highly aggressive, you're going to want to go second so that you have more Dawn cards to work with during your turn. Or if you're fighting something big like Kaido, you'll want to go first because you got to hit him before he can hit you back. Regardless, it seems it's just like the Digimon card game where it's, rock, paper, scissors or roll a die, or as long as the two of you agree on who goes first or how to decide who goes first, it doesn't seem to have anything other than a suggestion of rock, paper, scissors. Once you've decided who goes first, you draw 5 cards from the top of your deck. Then you place cards in your life zone, that's what it's called, equal to the life of your leader card. What's interesting about that is in the Digimon card game, and I'm going to be comparing to the Digimon card game a lot, same company, and it's the only card game I'm super familiar with. In the Digimon card game, you always start with 5 security. As of right now, we only know of Crocodile, Luffy, and... Wait. We know Crocodile had 3 life in that example page that we saw on the One Piece card game Twitter. What if Crocodile only has 3 life? Kaido and Luffy both have 5, so that's not really a good indicator, and we haven't seen the Crocodile card yet. But what if different captains have different lives depending on how powerful their abilities are? Crocodile might have some crazy ability to bounce cards back into the hand, but as a result, he only has 3 hearts. And once you have 0 hearts and your captain gets hit, you lose. On that note, there is no direct attacks in the One Piece card game. You can either choose to attack a character card, or you can attack the leader. If your power level isn't as strong as the leader, you do no damage. But if Luffy has 5,000 and you attack him with a 6,000 power character, you lose 1 life. As of the making of this video, there doesn't seem to be any security attack plus or extra life damage. There doesn't even seem to be a way to heal, but we only know 5 cards in this game right now. Regardless, we have confirmation of how to defeat your opponent. The only other way to lose the game is by having no cards left in your deck. It doesn't say exactly whether or not it's no cards during your draw phase, or if it's just no cards at all, as soon as you draw your last card, you lose. My guess is when you have no cards when you go to draw. For now, all it says is lose condition if you have 0 cards. Again, I'm working off rough translations here right now. Just like the Digimon card game, the first thing you'll do on your turn is your unsuspend phase, or the refresh phase as it's called in Japan. This is going to unsuspend all your cards, and then here's the interesting part. Return your Dawn cards to your cost area. So any Dawn cards that are on your characters or your leader go back to the Dawn area, if I'm understanding that correctly, which means you're starting fresh at the start of every turn. So if you have abilities that put these 1,000+ power cards underneath your guys and buff them up, don't hesitate to do it, because apparently that's not going to make your next turn weaker. You're just going to get all that back anyway, so you might as well use as much Dawn as you can. Do it with a Dawn, as Tom would say. After we return our cards back to our cost area, we draw 1 card. Unless you're going first, you don't draw anything. This is pretty standard for card games these days. Apparently that first turn card advantage is just too good. Going first is worth sacrificing the first card of your deck. Then, after our draw phase comes our Dawn phase, and again, I was right, kind of. You take not 1, but 2 Dawn cards and place them in your cost area. Unless you're going first. Then you only take 1. Again, they've probably tested this, and maybe going first is so good that you need to be nerfed by not drawing a card and only having 1 Dawn to work with. Personally, I will always be trying to go second right now because I like having as much mana or memory as I can in order to make my big plays. Now comes the long part, the main phase, which I have a lot of things written down here. We can play cards by suspending Dawn cards equal to their cost. So I was right, Dawn cards are like land from the Magic the Gathering game. For example, this Jinbe card costs 3. So even if you're going second and you pull out those 2 Dawn cards, you're not going to be able to play Jinbe just yet. However, if you were going first, 1 Dawn card, your opponent's turn. Your turn, 3 Dawn cards, go ahead Jinbe. So again, this is where going first might be beneficial to you, despite having a little bit of a nerf at the beginning. I wish I knew more about this card game, I really do, because there is a lot of interesting effects that just are popping into my mind right now, a lot of combos, and I don't even know what cards exist yet. So, it's all speculation, but this is the fun part of a new card game on the horizon. Then we can play other cards. We can also play our stage cards, like the Thousand Sunny. We can also play event cards, like this Guard Point card. Now, it's interesting because this Guard Point card has a keyword on it called counter. I'll get to counter in a minute, but know that when you are done using an event card, you immediately trash it. We can also attach 1 Dawn card to a leader or character. I don't know whether the Dawn card has to be suspended or it can't be suspended. Maybe it's, you have to sacrifice your mana before you use it. But we know that we can move at least 1 to either our leader card or one of our character cards. A reminder that Dawn cards give an additional 1,000 power, and we don't know if our leader cards can attack just yet, but if they can, which I would assume they can, we could give that Dawn card to Luffy, who has 5,000 power, make him 6,000, and he could immediately attack Kaido, who has 5,000 power, and just get first blood. Like, just immediately, on our very first turn, strike Kaido. Keep in mind, though, that any life card that is lost is immediately added to your hand. Life cards, when added to your hand, also can activate a trigger effect. This is kind of like security effects from the Digimon card game, where it's something that immediately activates, but I believe the card still gets added to your hand. Something to keep in mind when striking your opponent's life. I'm going to say security now and then, or try and catch myself from saying it, but just letting you know. Another thing we can use on our turn is activating our card effects, which apparently require X amount of Dawn cards to do. The examples we have here are, we can use the effect if we have a Dawn card. We can use the effect by returning a Dawn card to the cost area, or we can suspend Dawn cards in the cost area to use this ability. Again, we only have this Jinbe example, but for now, I would say this is probably a give and take kind of thing. You may not be able to use the same Dawn card that you moved onto a card to take off, or maybe you can. It's still all up in the air on how this works. While I'm not exactly sure how the rules work on this, the Dawn card, if it goes up to a card, maybe it can't immediately throw it back into the cost area, or it comes back to the cost area suspended. Whatever the reason, Dawn cards are very powerful currency for this card game. The effects of Dawn cards seem to be everywhere. And I know I keep saying Dawn all the time, and it's just, I don't know, it's fun to say. Dawn. The last thing we can do on our turn is attack. And attacking comes with a lot of different steps to it. The first step is initially declaring your attack. You take a card and you turn it sideways, also known as suspending, and that will allow you to choose your target. So we suspend our Jinbe to either attack Kaido or Ulti. Ulti's getting a card, so that's kind of neat. If we choose to attack Ulti and Jinbe is stronger, then the character card is just destroyed. If we choose to attack Kaido and Jinbe is stronger than Kaido, then Jinbe and Kaido don't get destroyed at all, but Kaido and Kaido's owner loses 1 life, activating any life security effects and the like, but still being 1 card closer to losing the game. However, if we choose to attack and our opponent has a card with blocker on it, for example, Chopper is going to be a blocker in the Straw Hat deck, although Chopper's only going to have 1,000 power as of the example we saw, but Chopper can take the hit for us. This combos really well with cards like Guard Point, which is a counter card. Counter cards can be activated straight from our hand, if I'm understanding this correctly. And if I'm also understanding, we need to pay the Dawn cost to use the counter. So try not to end your turn with no Dawn cards available, because you won't be able to play counters from your hand. We also know that there's going to be a Brook card. The Brook card also seems to have a counter effect, at least according to the examples shown, but the text is too blurry to see what Brook can do. The one thing I do want to point out that's really interesting is every card we've seen up until now has had a little yellow circle in the corner dedicated to its power level kind of thing. Brook's is blue. I don't know if that means there's different kinds of power, or if Brook's considered like a spell card instead of an actual character, but whatever the reason, there are different colors of power within the different colors of cards. Something to keep in mind, and I'm sure we'll understand it better as we get closer to the card game coming out. As I stated before, after the block step comes the counter step, where we can play cards like Guard Point. A counter character can play from the hand, as can a counter card. Like I said, Brook and the Guard Point. Finally, the damage step. We compare the power levels. If a character loses, they are KO'd and put in the discard pile. If a leader loses, you lose a life card. When you lose a life card, you can activate any of its effects, if it has a trigger effect. And when you lose a life card, you add it to your hand. When the leader is damaged and you have no life, you lose. The only other losing condition is having no deck. So if you go to draw and there's 0 cards, I already said this earlier, but just to reiterate, those are the only 2 known ways of losing this card game right now. When you are done with everything you can do in your main phase, you will then go to your end phase, where effects that have during this turn, or your turn, or until the end of this turn, end. Then it's your opponent's turn, and they do all the things I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. Whew! Now that we understand the card game, kind of, let's move on to talking about some of the cards that are coming out. So we have new cards announced. We have Jinbe, who is a character card. He costs 3 and has 5,000 power. Then, for 1 Dawn card, which needs to be on him, if I'm reading this correctly, but it's not something he has to give back to the cost area. When attacking, for this turn, we can give 1,000 power to another character or leader card. We can't give it to Jinbe himself, but if Jinbe has a Dawn card, he can power up one of his allies. This synergizes really nicely with Luffy, who has the power, during our main phase, to move a Dawn card from our cost area to one of our character cards or our leader card. So, during your Dawn phase, we move a card up to Jinbe, then Luffy moves a card up to himself, Jinbe goes to attack and powers up Luffy again. Luffy is now at 7,000 power. I don't know if that power... I may have misread it, but I don't know if that stays until the end of our opponent's turn, or if it's just till the end of our turn. I'll check my notes later. I'll put something below me if I have an answer. If I don't, I'll just put a question mark. The thing about the Jinbe card that I want to draw the most attention to is the fact that not only is he marked as a Straw Hat Pirate card, he is also marked as a Fishman. This could give potential for a Fishman deck, or a Giant deck, or a Dwarf deck, or a Snake Neck deck, because there's so many Snake Neck characters in One Piece. Imagine Scratchman Apu probably has a leader / on-air pirates / long arm card. But for now, Jinbe is proof that cards are going to be more than just member of this crew. I wouldn't be shocked if by the final release, Jinbe is also mentioned to be a helmsman, but for now, we're just speculating. The event card that I mentioned here is Guard Point. It costs 1, and it is mentioned as an animal/Straw Hat Crew card. I don't know if Chopper or a different Chopper card in the future is going to have something that synergizes with animal cards, but I really like that there is more than one category to these different individual cards. In addition to being an animal/Straw Hat Crew card, it is a counter card that gives 3,000 power to a leader or character for the battle. What's nice about this happens after the blocker phase. So, when you have a, let's say, 3,000 power creature going after another character card, Chopper can jump in the way with his 1,000 power. Then, Guard Point, 4,000 power, nullifies the fight, defeats the opponent, and saves the day like the good little hero he is. Or, if you're lucky, you could stuff a bunch of guard points into your hand, and since they only cost 1, you could power up Chopper to his giant guard point, where he can absorb 1,200 damage, because you have all 4. Oh, actually it would be 1,300. No, 13,000. That's the word. You could have Chopper absorb 13,000 damage. You would also have no cards left in your hand, but that's give and take. The stage card that we have revealed so far is the Thousand Sunny. It costs 2, it's a Straw Hat Crew card, and when we have our main phase, we can activate it by suspending it and give a leader or character with Straw Hat Crew 1,000 power. Running this combo by us again, give the Dawn card to Jinbe. Jinbe powers up Luffy, who gives the Dawn card to himself. Then the Thousand Sunny powers up Luffy even further. Luffy has gone from 5 to 8,000 power already. Then you hit Luffy with the guard point, and Luffy has 11,000 power. I can do math. The only other cards that were revealed in this little block box thing we have going on is Kaido, who we know is the leader of the Beast Pirates. He has 5,000 power, but the text is too blurry for any translator to know what he does yet. Ulti costs 4 and has 5,000 power, but just like Kaido, the card is too blurry to actually know what she does yet. Okay, hi, it's me. While editing, we found out that there are more info. It happened just as I finished recording it the very next day. We actually got info on the Kaido and Ulti cards coming out, as well as one more event card, a purple event card for Kaido. It is the Blast Breath card, or Boro Breath in the Japanese version. I assume it will be translated to Blast Breath because of the Viz manga, but we'll take a moment and we'll talk about those cards. So the Boro Breath card is a counter card, which at the cost of 1 Dawn, we can give a leader or character 4,000 extra power for the battle that's going on. So it's like Guard Point, but it costs more to do. So it's 1,000 more at the cost of 1 extra Dawn. So keep that in mind if you're on the defensive against your opponent. The Ulti card, when you play her by paying a Dawn, which I assume that's to take a Dawn off of one of your cards and put it back in the cost area, you can play a 4 cost or lower page 1. This card makes a lot of sense because Ulti is page 1's older sister and she kind of drags him around wherever she goes. So to have her cause page 1 to slam down on the battlefield is very accurate to their characters together. She also can be used as a counter card for 2,000 power. So now that these other 2 counter cards came out, I'm starting to think that the Guard Point counter card doesn't cost anything to play, because Boro Breath costs a Dawn to give you 4,000 extra power. So maybe counter cards don't cost anything to play from hand? It's still kind of a speculation here. We'll find out as more rules come out, but that seems to be where it's starting to what it's starting to sound like. Is counter cards can be played straight from the hand, but some of them, like the Boro Breath, cost a Dawn to play. Finally, we have our leader card, Kaido. he has a once per turn at the cost of 7 Dawn. Trash 1 life from your opponent. So we know during the Dawn phase we can move 1 Dawn card up to one of our cards, but I'm under the impression that all the Dawn cards go back to the cost area at the start of our turn. So how do you store up Dawn cards if they always go back? So there may be more to it than just that. Maybe there's more cards that bring the Dawn cards up and in. On that note, we do see in this promotional image of 2 guys playtesting the game, we can see on their board, if you zoom in and enhance, you can see right here that there is a card with all 3 of Kaido's commanders, King, Queen, and Jack, on a card together. So I'm going to guess it's an event card regarding the All-Stars. We can also see, if you move the zoom and enhance over to here, that Karu has a card. And Karu is a member of the Straw Hat crew. He and Vivi are members 5.5, basically, for better or worse. So, yeah, Karu's got a card. He seems to not have any special abilities, but, card games need blank cards that don't do anything. That's just kind of, common fodder, that kind of thing. I assume they're in the Straw Hat starter deck, which is weird because I didn't even think about that. If you go with the rules of the game that 4 cards per, you can have 4 of a card in your deck, it's a 50 card deck. You could have 4 copies of all 10 Straw Hats. That still leaves 10 more cards. So, I don't know. Maybe we won't even see the entire crew. We might be, maybe Frankie, Robin, well, no, we saw a Brook card. But yeah, maybe some members of the crew, Frankie, Robin, Usopp, maybe they don't get cards right now, and they'll get some in the starting booster pack. But so yeah, that's I just wanted to give the info on Ulti and Kaido, and and there's also this Nami card. We don't know what it does, but they showed the artwork for it. So okay, back to the regular time. Bye. Chopper, we know, is a blocker with 1,000 power, and he costs 1 to play. So he's a good member of the crew to just toss onto the board, even if you're going first, which is nice. And finally, Brook, who costs 2, but again, the text is too blurry. We don't know what he does. At this point, it's extremely safe to assume that because we saw Zoro and Nami in that promotional image, we saw Brook and Chopper, we know Jinbe, it's pretty much safe to assume that the rest of the Straw Hat crew also have their own cards. Really looking forward to the Frankie card. I'm interested to see mechanically how a big Iron Pirate works. Frankie might have the ability to summon the Frankie Shogun, maybe as an event card or something. Regardless, this is pretty much all we know. So, I like hearing from other people. Speaking of hearing from other people, a commenter of mine mentioned that the color wheel might actually have something to do with people who have a hard time seeing different colors. That's actually really cool when you think about it, because not only does this make it easier and more accessible for other people to see what cards they're using, but it allows those who make the card art to not be limited to the color section of the card. For example, if we had some full art of Luffy, but we know that that color wheel is there, and we see like up here that it is a red card, we don't have to have red on the card. It's kind of neat. It's good to think about. But let me know in the comments below what you think about the cards coming out, what combos you're hoping to see. We know it's going to be the Beast Pirates. We know it's going to be the new World Pirates, the Worst Generation, led by Eustace Kid. And we know Crocodile is the leader of Baroque Works. While the Straw Hats are a little more obvious to who's going to be in their deck, Baroque Works isn't the name of the deck, it's the 7 Warlords. So keep an eye out for Hancock or Buggy in that starter deck. Thank you for watching as always. I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero Fulios, Xing out.